Hello? Hey. Just waiting for a couple of people to come on in. Just wanted to say welcome everybody to Lessons Learned in Quarantine, a series of mini conversations. As you already know, I usually conduct these every other week or so and have opportunity to speak to people of great influence, people that I personally admire, and to be able to shed some light to this year that we're going through. Be able to pick people's brains, hear from them, right? Hear from them, and be able to touch bases with their hearts as they're going through this year called 2020, right? So today we have a phenomenal, absolutely amazing person, and I'm going to go ahead and add her in now. All right. Charisa Munroe. Charisa Munroe. Sis,
Hello.
how are
Hi.
you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am good. I am good. You look
Good.
refreshed.
I am refreshed. I am.
You are.
Saturday.
You say it's Saturday, right?
It is Saturday.
How's everything going?
Everything is going well. If I complain, I'll be lying, and complaining changes nothing. So
It doesn't
all the
change
time.
anything, does
Doesn't
it?
change.
So
Doesn't
that
change
is
me.
great. That is great. So it's 7:30, and
Ready?
you are here at 7:30. Uh,
I promised you.
You did. You did. You did. I was like, okay, here we go. We'll see how everything goes. But it is 7:30 and you are here. So thank you so much. And we're going to jump straight into it. Okay. Is that
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
no, absolutely honored that you would even say yes to this opportunity. We're having people jumping on now. But if not, they'll be able to catch the replay. They'll definitely be able to catch the replay. So real quickly, your day was good?
I did have a very good day. It was a very, very good day. Relaxing enough.
Mm-hmm.
No work. Actually, was all play until now.
What? Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so let's jump straight into. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, everybody. Charisa Munroe is in the building. You guys don't understand how seriously and impactful this is to me. Okay, let's jump straight to it. So, lessons learned in quarantine is what we do. We just have a moments of inspiration, and this is going to be a very impactful, short but impactful conversation. So we're going to get straight to it, and we're going to touch people, inspire people, and just have a real, genuine conversation. Is that okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All righty. So, question number one. Who is Charisa Munroe?
That is such a convoluted, a complex question.
Yeah.
Depends on what aspect are you asking from.
Okay.
It's who I am, where I'm from, like,
Mm-hmm.
what I
Yeah.
do,
Mm-hmm.
I start off, and if I don't say this, or if I start off differently, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But I am the daughter of the late Dr. Myles and Ruth Munroe. I start there. I'm ultimately the daughter of the King of Kings. And
Yeah.
I always recognize Jesus and God for who they are in my life. A true kingdom citizen by heart.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm definitely someone who, I'm from the Bahamas, born and raised, live in the U.S. currently.
Yeah.
And I am in the process of doing what I do best, and
Mm-hmm.
that's serving people. And in serving them, I'm helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And my passion has always been to serve the underdogs, those that are underserved.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's one thing I hate. I hate seeing people in pain. I hate seeing people hurting. I hate seeing people not living at their best.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a father and a mother who made sure that I lived at my best. And
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't living at my best, they tried their endeavor best to assist me with figuring out what needs to be done and what resources is needed and what way of thinking I needed to have in order to live my best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a journey of life. And so it continues to be a journey in me identifying who I am for myself and then making sure that I am living my best. And so my desire has been just to help people do exactly that, starting with purpose. But yeah, I'm a island gal.
Yeah. Tell me
Yeah.
about the Bahamas.
Oh, it's beautiful. It is the place where God lives.
Yes.
I say it again.
Mhm.
And that's not just a slogan that my dad coined. Yes, he coined it to
Yeah.
the point where even the government of the Bahamas has embraced it.
Yeah.
But it is truly the place where God lives.
Yeah.
Now, he visits Chicago every so often. He visits Florida. He visits Columbus, Ohio, just once in a while. He need a vacation with the Bahamas because we could be,
For
but
sure.
that's where he lives. That's home.
For sure.
Beautiful sun, sand, sea,
Mhm.
people. Our number one industry is tourism. So that's where we get a lot of just because of what we have and the love we have for ourselves, but also for people and the culture. So if you haven't visited, please come 2021, 2022, when we can travel and kind of get about life as, I don't want to say it's usual, but
Mhm.
when we're free of, any sickness and pandemic, but the Bahamas is the place to go.
Man, beautiful, beautiful. What was some of your greatest memories in the Bahamas?
Well, I lived there up until 17
Hmm.
years of age, but that was when I graduated from high school. So I grew up there. I think, though, my greatest memories, because we have my family, myself, my parents, my brother, we are a very close-knit family. So
Hmm.
when I left home, I think I had a more appreciation for home when I left. I
Mm.
left in 2001
Hmm.
and never lived there, never lived back since, but I would go home and I would visit.
Hmm.
So being away from home, um, and going back and missing the people, missing the food, missing the culture, but most of all, being able to reconnect with my parents and my family, because
Hmm.
we are a big family as a whole, and then we have our little 4-person unit.
Hmm.
But going back to reconnect, like, it made the reconnection so much stronger being away. And
Mm.
so every time, which is why, to be very honest, if you know anything about me and my story,
Hmm.
going home to the Bahamas for the last 5 years has been very difficult,
Sure.
because it was not until up to 2014, every time I went home, it was because of my family. It
Mm.
was because of Myles Munroe. It was because of Ruth Munroe, my parents, and the connection that we had, and the fun that we would have, and the vacations we would take together, and just going. I didn't want to go home and go out. I just wanted to go home and be with them.
Hmm.
And so going home, and that aspect, that element, not being there, is very, very hard for me. It's very difficult. So if I go home, I promise you it's going to be for a purpose. Now, I have other family members home, so it doesn't take away from my connection with them. I still am in communication with them. I still connect with them. When I go home, I spend time with them. But there's difference between, your parents and a child. And up until my parents passed, I had a very deep relationship and connection with them.
Yeah.
So usually when I go home, it's for a reason. I go home, finish that reason,
Mhm.
I'm out of there.
You're out here. You're out of there. Yes. So growing up in the Bahamas, I saw somebody write in the comments that people love guava there. I don't know if that is something I've heard about the mangoes. I've heard about guava. So I think that is pretty awesome. As far
Yeah.
as
So,
maybe some home dishes or something. I don't know.
so if they're talking about guava, they're talking about a particular dish called guava duff. So
Mm.
guava duff is a dessert.
We did
Usually
say
comes
guava.
out, yes, usually comes out predominantly at Christmas time, but
Mm.
it can be eaten at any time. It's just definitely one of those desserts. But when I say the dessert, it says guava duff, but it's literally spelled SIN.
I got
It
you.
is the richest, most tasteful,
Yeah.
most beautiful combustion of flavors in your mouth type of dessert.
Oh wow.
So and to me, my aunt makes the best. So when I go home, that's the one thing I ask her to make, and I have her make a loaf. She makes it like a loaf,
Hmm.
and I freeze because it comes with a sauce. So I freeze the sauce, and then I bring it back with me, and so I have it to eat on as long as I want. Yep.
That is beautiful.
I see someone here also put conch chowder. Now, I
Conch
don't think,
chowder.
yes, it is the
I've
best
heard
in the
of it.
Bahamas. So if you ever heard about conch, conch is like a mussel. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's a
Mhm.
seafood, but it's a mussel that comes out of a shell. So we make it as conch chowder. We make it as conch salad. That's probably the number one.
Mm-hmm.
Delicacy of the Bahamas is conch salad.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually raw at that point. It's conch chowder, it's cooked, but it is one of the best things. So it's an acquired taste, it's an acquired texture. So you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna find people either like it or they don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Love
love
it.
it. And then
I'm
I'm
gonna
a
try.
foodie. I'm a foodie anyway. In this
Yes.
case, my
Yeah.
arm.
No.
I'm a foodie, and I'm okay with being a foodie. And I'm a fine dining, good home cooked meal type of foodie. Not necessarily a fast food restaurant, but give me a good meal, give me a good fine dining restaurant or a mom and pop restaurant, depending on the countries you visit.
Come on now.
Non-American. I'm big on ethnic. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm big on ethnic food. So you're African, you're food from Israel, from Jamaica, from anything Caribbean, you're
Yeah.
Indian. Like that's me. American food is
Yeah.
it's okay.
It doesn't have too much culture to it, right?
Eh,
Not too much. I understand. I understand.
it sometimes lacks flavor. So if I can add to the American way of cooking, then and make it my own, then yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
fire.
That's cool. We are learning a lot that I had no idea about. So that's pretty cool. So tell me a little bit about your college experience. So you came here in America for your bachelor's at degree,
I
correct?
came from my bachelor's, went to Oral Roberts University in
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and did 4 years. I initially started out as a pre-med. So I did my first 2 years as pre-med. And then in going through the different classes and really learning more from the different, you just go to different classes, go to school, you learn more about yourself. Now that you're not home, you grow, you mature. And I realized that, man, I really love people and I love helping them. And being a surgeon, which is what I wanted to be initially, it was okay. I would be able to help them, but I wanted more than just to do surgery on someone that was going to be out for 10 hours. And then maybe I see them one more time post surgery and then that's it.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to have more of a rapport, more of a relationship, more of a connection, which required more communication with them. And
Yeah.
so I realized that that type of medicine wasn't going to work for me. I wanted more. And so I did some sociology classes and social work classes. I also spoke to my advisor, told them what my dilemma was,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they recommended. So I took some social work classes and realized this is definitely it. So
Social.
social work gives me a nice mixture between psychology
Mm-hmm.
and sociology. And
Mm-hmm.
then in social work, you can take different tracks. So I'm a big medical person as well.
Yeah.
So I was able to do medical social work with adults. You had to choose which population you wanted to work with, geriatric, adults, children.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do school social work per se. I didn't want to be that social worker that everybody only knows social work for. And
I,
that's for taking children away from home, taking kids away from their parents. I
yeah.
wanted to be more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did exactly that. So I was able to keep my pre-med passion and do medicine, did social worker. And so after I finished my bachelor's of social work at ORU, then I went straight to University of Michigan
Mm-hmm.
and did my master's of social work.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, they were the #1 school in social work. I'm not sure if they're still that now. I want to say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Did my graduate studies there, got my master's of social work, and then I started working right after that in a clinic or a hospital for a while. And then when I made the switch, there's a, I won't call it a aha moment. I know one of the questions you're going to ask me is what was my aha moment? So I'm going to jump there really quick
Okay.
because the aha moment to me, and I'm careful with this word because aha would mean that there was some type of searching that was going on first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, aha, I found what it was I've been searching for.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my story. I wasn't searching. Like I was literally already working for years in not only my job, but it was a part of my work, which was me doing what I love to do, helping people, connecting with them. But there was a moment where Jesus spoke to me or God spoke to me directly.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, I want you to take what you are doing and serve your father.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was at that moment, I was in California, never forget it. And it was at that moment where it was clear as day. Pick up your bags and move closer or position yourself to work with your father and travel alongside him and serve him. And so that's what I did. I made that move 3 years before he passed. it was the best move. And I think God was preparing me for what he knew would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those 3 years, I learned so much from my dad in those 3 years that I probably did the years before my entire life.
Wow.
Because I was with him all the time. Like he was, and so he was mentoring me. And he wasn't mentoring me because he was my father. He was mentoring me because I asked him. Made that decision because God spoke to me. And then I then spoke to my father. Wrote him I'll never forget. I wrote him an email, a very long email, told him what happened, what transition, what transpired, why I'm making this change. And then I asked him, can you mentor me? Because mentoring is different from fathering. Mentoring is different from teaching. Mentoring is literally a relationship that occurs between a mentor and a mentee. And usually it doesn't just happen. Normally someone, if the mentee wants this mentor to be a mentor, then they're going to be the ones that's pursuing. And so I pursued him, he agreed, and so we did exactly that. And so when I went to work with him part-time, because I was so loving what I was doing at social work, I couldn't give it up.
Got you.
So I just went from full-time to part-time social work, 9 to 5, and then I went part-time with my dad in ministry. And it was then when he challenged me the most. So at that time, sitting in meetings and business meetings, I wanted to make sure I was well equipped with, when I open my mouth, I'm going to say something that actually is sound and makes sense. And so because I wasn't business savvy at the time, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school and get me a second master's in business.
Mm-hmm.
And I did exactly that. I did that online while working in 9 to 5, while working with my dad. And so I got my master's in business, which better equipped me for, working in the ministry and working with him and becoming his road manager and a little bit of public relations and that sort of thing. And even to now, I'm so happy I did that because I was able to use it. And so education was important and continues to be important for us. And so, so I have a bachelor's and 2 masters, and they were all purpose. All of my moves have been purpose related.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you talk about purpose related moves, did you know they were purpose related moves, or were you just kind of already in your relationship with God and it kind of just flowed in that area?
Both.
Okay.
So because of my relationship with God, because I was already working in my purpose, and because my purpose was evolving. So it's going to evolve and expand as you do. And so because your gift is going to expand as it continues to make room for you. Right. And so all of my moves were done on purpose. So going to school was on purpose. Going back to school to get a business degree was on purpose because of where I was going. So God, it's almost as though God provided the opportunity. God provided me the platform to, this is what I'm going to put you on. This is the pedestal. This is the work I'm going to give you. I kind of want to see what you do with it, but it was up to me to how serious am I about this? Am I going to take this gift and then multiply it? Am I going to take this opportunity and multiply it? Or am I going to just, the same way he gave it to me, in 3 years, it's going to be the same. I wasn't going to do that. My talents were worth more than that. But so was me being honored in that man. God saw fit for me to join my father in ministry versus somebody else. And I didn't want to do it mediocre. I didn't want to just be average working for my dad. I didn't want to just be average, thinking that, I know what I'm supposed to do. No, I knew that I needed to be in a position for my dad to be able to do what he was purposed to do. And in order for him to do that, he needed to worry about nothing. So my job for those 3 years was to make sure that when he's on the road now, he's worrying about nothing. And so my brother and I became that person. We became that person to let us worry. Let us be the foundation. Let us be the behind the scenes. Let us be the underneath, lifting him up for him to do what he do. And at that moment, that was my purpose. And then talking about another aha moment, this was an aha moment, but this was another evolution of my purpose. So 2014 occurred. My parents passed away. My dad leaves this legacy, this inheritance. Then what do I do? So now I have a choice to make. Do I want to pick up this mantle? Do I want to continue this legacy? Or am I going to say, no, it isn't for me? Well, that wasn't an option for me. And so I went from being comfortable and perfectly fine with being behind the scenes with being underneath the stage where you can't see me, like in an orchestra, like in a band, in an orchestra. I went from being the person who introduced him. I went from didn't want to be on stage other than introducing him, making him great, and then I'm fine. I went from all of that, from being unseen, working his book table, serving him, to now I'm on stage. I'm in the spotlight. And I'm like, am I ready for this? Can I do this? But when I say to you, 3 years before that, God knew what he was doing when he positioned me the way he did. He was positioning me for such a time as this. And so, here I am. And so on purpose, another moment. So it was then when my purpose kind of shifted. So when I thought maybe I'll be doing something else, here I am 5 years later, doing something that I never thought I would be doing, but I was prepared. And still growing on it. It's still a journey. And then 2020 happened, and there goes the wrench. And we got to figure out, So, yeah.
Okay. That I can talk a long time about that, but I'm not. Because
Okay.
I'm going to save that for part 2.
Okay.
Okay. But since we're running out of time, I'm going to ask you, as far as 2020, what advice would you give people that are just going through so much this year? As we know, this year has been a lot for us, and it's been tough for us. But what is your response to 2020?
So my response, so 2020 is one of those very complex type of years. So it's almost as though you had an initial 2020, and then you had a second wave of crises. So it started with COVID it started with a couple of months, January, February, when things were fine. Whatever plans you had in place, whatever priorities you had in place was there. Going fine, looking fine. I know you and I have talked, and we had some plans for 2020.
For sure.
And then come March, that initial part of the crises, you had the COVID pandemic. Shut everything down. Now we're on lockdown. And at that moment, my response to that was, initially it was, wait a minute. Like initially it was, okay, so let's just, it was kind of a stop moment. But it wasn't, and it depends on who you're talking to, because for me, it wasn't a stop moment for me, because as it pertains to because I was working in the medical field, it didn't stop for me. So I was still able to go to work. I was still able to still do what I do. I was still able to help people. I was still able to push people through what they were doing. But the reason why I was able to do that, because my response to 2020 is very different from a lot of other people that I've spoken to. And it's because when you're talking about crises that we're in, when you're talking about the pandemic that we're in, when you're talking about the second wave of unrest and political climate that we're in right now, like to me, that's the second wave of 2020. When you're talking about all of that, like all of that, and I'm going to put all of that in a crisis word for me, my crises occurred and happened 5-6 years ago in 2014. Like my 2020 was 5 years ago. My 2020 was literally 5 years ago. And I don't know if anyone understands that. But having gone through what I went through with losing both of my parents at the same time, the way I did, having to now figure out how am I going to maneuver through life and how am I going to now move forward when we had all these plans with the family, like that was a grief, that was a pain, continues to still be a place of sadness that I never want to, like, I don't ever want to wish that on my worst enemy. Like that, like some people's 2020, mine was then. So having gone through that and able to come out of it the way I've come out of it 4 or 5 years later, when this 2020 hit, literally, I say in my mind, this is a joke. But I say that for me. This is a joke for me. Because, and I think it's because it doesn't affect me directly. 6 years ago, I was affected directly. My only pain that I feel in this current 2020 is the pain that I see other people in. Is the depression and anxiety that I see other people. Is the oppression and the dissatisfaction and the unhappiness and the joyless days that I see in other folks. That's what hurts me. That's what pains me. And so that is because I've gone through my 2020 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I've been able to help that entire population of people I just mentioned to you. I've been able to encourage. I've been able to support. I've been able to live a life to where they can say, man, like, I want to be happy like you. I want to be like, how are you able to go through your days? And
Yeah.
because I was once where you were. And I remember the joy of the Lord being my strength.
Come on.
I
Yeah.
remember he said he would never leave me or forsake me. I remember only being able to trust in a God that I cannot see, because every human being that I was seeing wasn't working for me.
Come on
And
now.
so, my response to 2020 has been one of patience, but it's also been one of pivoting. And I say pivot because purpose still stands. At the end of the day, your purpose still stands. Like, everything that was on purpose, that was done on purpose, purpose should never change. We may have to change direction from time to time. We may have to re-strategize. We may have to swivel to move out of the way of danger. We may have to swivel because that road just got mashed up. So now we got to take this one because the earthquake just happened there. But that one foot that's forever planted, because if you move it, you traveled. You want to leave it there because that stands for purpose. And so I've learned the art of pivoting, but I also learned that 6 years ago.
Got you.
So I was able to apply what I learned 6 years ago to this year very quickly. And then perspective. Having perspective is normally the way of thinking, but it's that perspective that determines everything. It determines what you say, what you think, how you respond, your attitude, your behavior, even your feelings. And so there are many times when I had to check myself, but I remember having to do that 5 years ago. And my perspective had to change. But perspective is supposed to be fluid because things are always changing. The one thing that's constant is change. Here we are in 2020, but my dad spoke about change from 2008 when we had the financial pandemic way back then. So we should have been prepared for this back then. So now people are now listening to his messages on change and the benefits of change, and change in the crises and so forth and so on. And so even I read his book again so I can get a reminder of, man, change is going to happen. How you respond to it is more important. So my response to what has happened in 2020 has been different. I've had multiple conversations with people from all walks of life. And whenever I tell this very story that I tell you, like, that alone helps them.
Yeah, for sure.
But that requires me being very vulnerable. That requires me being open. But patience, pivot, and perspective has been big for me in 2020, especially the initial part of 2020. And then you have everything that's gone on since outside of the pandemic, from the social injustices, the social unrest, to the political climate. And to me, that's my response to all of that has been, especially it happening in America, affecting the rest of the world. Like, education is key. Self-education is very important.
For sure.
And so it's almost as though before you can respond to anything, you want to make sure that you have all the facts. But you also want to make sure that you have all the truths. And so sometimes, giving a response to something that you may see or something that you may not like even that initial response, I'm careful. So I've been very careful how I respond, and even how I allow myself to think about something I may see on TV, on social media, on the news, even in conversations. I find myself listening more.
Yeah.
Because I'm not from America. It doesn't mean I'm not aware of American history, but I'm not from America. And so my perspective on something may be different because of my experiences. It doesn't minimize and degrade the experience of somebody else. And so again, my passion and my pain goes out to those that are affected by the things that have gone on, especially when it depresses them, when it makes them anxious, when it makes them feel unsafe or insecure. And so because I've been able to keep this, I want to say, balanced way of response, I've been able to just listen. Sometimes people just want to be heard.
That's right.
And then if I feel led to say something, then I do.
Wow. Thank you for that. I'm just going to ask you one thing, and then we're going to get on out of here, because I know that you have some things you need to do. So I'm going to throw a couple of names at you. I didn't tell you about this one, and I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
You're going to throw a couple of names.
things at you, names, things, and I just want you to tell me whatever comes to your mind.
One word, a sentence. You have some. What am I doing?
You can tell me a sentence. You can tell me one word. What's the first thing that just comes to mind? Got it?
I feel like it's gonna be a pop quiz. Okay, go.
So, Charisa Munroe.
Myles Munroe.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
And I say that because I think you and I had a conversation, and I said to you, I cannot think of myself and not think about my dad,
Absolutely.
or think about my parents,
Sure.
because I am who I am because of the investment that they have made in my life as parents that I honor.
Yeah.
And my dad, I'm sorry, and I don't apologize for who I am. I don't apologize for whose I belong to as far as earthly parents. I don't apologize for my upbringing. I don't apologize for who has been able to be the people that God entrusted me with. Those are my parents. So I don't apologize for the life that I've lived.
Absolutely.
It's been a great one. So like I think of myself and I think about my parents. First and foremost. I think about myself and I think about how much God loved me to give me them. I hear people say all the time, man, I wish I had your dad, or I wish he was my dad. And my dad was a dad and a father to so many, because he knew that people needed father, like father, and I'm going to say father just to mean parenting, but like that fatherhood, that motherhood is so important. And I was just blessed to come from a home where, I had two parents. They were married for, it would have been going on 40 years.
Wow.
And it was like I was able to see a great marriage. Which has been a blessing and a curse, to be very honest.
For sure.
I've seen this great marriage and I want that great marriage. And I'm learning really quickly that it takes, it is going to take some time to get there.
Come on. For
But
real.
it gives me hope. It gives me hope in knowing, man, that my marriage 40 years later will look like that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Self-love.
Self-love is the next. It's a whole lot I want to say here. But self-love is actually, I kind of want to say it's more important than who you love.
Yes, 100%.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. If I don't love myself, or if I only love myself this much, because I hate the rest of myself this much, then my love for everybody else is only going to be this much. That's even right. Smaller. And so before I can say, which is why I think one of the things that we also learned in 2020 during this lockdown period is you get to know who you are.
Exactly.
And so knowing who you are is very important. Exactly. And so if nothing else, 2020 allowed us to kind of have to stop for a little while, or pause. Let me use that word. Pause is better. And if you've had 2, 3, 4 months to chill with yourself.
Come on now.
Even if it's been one person left or right, nonetheless, you've only had yourself. That's and so, I'm sure people have learned who they are and learned, man, I really don't like my company.
Yes.
I didn't realize how bored I was without so-and-so or without having to do this. And so you get to learn who you are, you get to love yourself. And then if for some reason you don't love yourself, then you get to figure out, man, what do I need to do to change the stuff about me I don't love so that I can? Absolutely. And then I can love the world around me.
Absolutely. I say it all the time when I'm talking to people, whether I'm counseling or coaching, whatever it is, I say that exact same thing. It starts. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to hold you anymore. So,
okay.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is a phenomenal, a great honor for me to have a chat with Charisa Munroe. I look forward to the next conversation.
Looking forward to it.
Have other stuff that I really want to get into, but you blessed everybody. Everybody, I'm hearing people saying yes in the comments. They were blessed by you. Thank you, sis, so much for.
You're welcome. No, thank you for having me. It has been my pleasure to serve.
You said what?
It has been my pleasure to serve.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. That's it. You have anything else? Any closing comments?
I will say one thing. I think one of my greatest lessons that I want to share
Yes.
with people in 2020, because it's one of the things that as I just look through it, when things happen, crises happen, pandemics happen, unrest happen, it's almost like when you're drowning. I think about drowning in a pool. Like literally while you're drowning, even before something happens, they tell you don't panic. While you're drowning, they tell you stop panicking. Panicking is not an option in 2020.
Wow.
It didn't mean that drowning wouldn't occur. Well, because drowning means you're still fighting to stay above water. So unless I say drowned, that means you're done, you're dead. But drowning means there's still fight. And so I realized that while we are in this, and I'm going to use this very loosely, in this drowning state, panic is not an option.
Absolutely.
We need to literally take 2 seconds and say, okay, if someone's going to help me, I need to not panic so I can allow them to help me freely. If someone is not there to help me, panicking is going to just make it worse. So let me, kind of reset so that I can think, so that I can get myself out of this rut. So I've learned that panicking is not an option. Meaning that you had all these things, you had all these purpose planned, you had all these events, 2020 was planned. And so I can't panic. So cancellation isn't also an option.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't mean that you have to cancel your purpose.
Right.
It doesn't mean that your purpose was canceled. It doesn't mean that you have to now follow somebody else's routine because what yours was. No. But I will say that reset button is very important. And I love it. That re-strategizing is very important. But panicking, there's no need to panic.
Beautiful.
And I think one of the things I've seen when I look at what's been going on, because the pandemic of COVID happened, and then all the social and political things happened.
Sure.
So people were already on an unrest times 10 initially. And then this happened. So it's almost like panicking was all they know. And because we acted out of panic. And so, just have people who are now afraid. You have people who are now, scared. They don't know what to do. They feel like they have no control. And when you have people that have no control, they usually are very loose cannons.
Absolutely.
And so don't panic and don't cancel. Be okay with being patient. Wait until it's all over and say, you know what, like you and I said when we spoke, I'm not going to have my event this year, but I'm okay with waiting.
That's right.
And don't let 2020 dictate your purpose, your potential, and how you move forward.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Charisa Munroe.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon for sure.
Okay.
Part 2, everybody. Catch Charisa later on. I'm telling y'all, we're going to have more to do. God bless you, sis. Thank you.
Awesome. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you all for tuning in. Check us back in 2 more weeks. We have another person coming up. Check us on the replay. It'll be on YouTube at Dr. John Tyus. You'll be able to catch this, share it. You'll be able to watch the replay here on IG and also on our YouTube page at Dr. John Tyus. God bless y'all and have a blessed 2020. Bye-bye.